Good morning, I am Kevin Price. Been looking forward to spending some time with you, talking to you about you and your business. Hope you're having a great Monday morning and looking forward to talking about what's happening out there on the business front. Jason Smith, he is a contributor on The Price of Business, and he has a fantastic company that I have personally endorsed, where he helps individuals, really helps companies, rather, dramatically maintain and improve their bottom lines. And I'm going to let him talk a little bit about his company and then introduce us to his guest today.
Okay, thank you so much. My company is it's called Max Profits. It can be found at operatingcosts.com. That's plural. What we do is we maximize small to mid-sized businesses' profits by reducing their operating costs. Our business model is such that it is done entirely on a contingency fee, so no success from our part. There is no fees. There is no fees from our customers.
Gotta love it. Tell us about your guest today.
Our guest today is Jim. He is an expert in mergers and acquisitions.
Awesome. Welcome to the program. Jim, tell us a little bit about yourself and your firm.
Sure. Thanks, Kevin. I'm a mergers and acquisitions attorney. Been doing this for about 25 years. We do deals all over the country. We do large and complex and medium-sized M&A deals, basically buying and selling companies all day long in various industries, most particularly technology and financial services and a couple of other kind of subspecialties.
Very good, very good. Your first question, Jason?
My first question, Jim, thank you for being a guest with us. Post-merger, how does the combined firm benefit from economies of scale?
Well, and thank you very much for having me. Yeah, that's a great question, and actually, it's interesting because in some recent surveys that have been done of M&A deals over the past year, about 90% of the companies surveyed who had done transactions said that they had failed to get the value out of the transaction that they wanted to get out of the transaction in terms of return on investment. And one of the primary reasons for that, they said, was failure to integrate an acquisition properly after the fact. One very important thing to realize when you're dealing with acquisitions is you're dealing with numbers, but you're also dealing with people. And managing the people and managing the way that they're going to work in the combined company is very important, and it requires a huge amount of planning that's unfortunately often overlooked in deals. Good M&A teams always talk about day one after the merger, and exactly what's going to be happening at a company right after the merger closes. And you have to start planning for that when you very first start negotiating an acquisition so you can have a smooth transition and so that you can capitalize on the economies of scale that you hope to have when you decided that you thought this acquisition was a good idea.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about how this whole dynamic has changed, or has it changed in recent years?
Well, what's happened recently is this. I mean, 2014, the M&A market has been robust. Starting in the first quarter of 2014, M&A activity has been increasing. You know, before that, all the companies in the country pretty much were in kind of doomsday prepper mode. And what companies do when they get in that mode, they don't put rice and beans in Gamma-lid buckets in the basement, but they start hoarding cash, and they start cutting debt, and they start cutting headcount, and they start cutting expenses. But at some point they wake up and decide, like we do, you know, that we don't want all of our money in CDs earning 0.1% interest a year. They get tired of that and they want growth. And they go out looking for growth. And so what's been happening is companies have been looking to make strategic acquisitions in order to grow. And so they've been buying other companies that have customer bases. They've been buying companies that have lines of business that they want to get in. and they've been trying to position themselves for us coming out of the economic malaise that we've been in. And we've kind of had a perfect storm recently over the last 12 to 18 months where capital has become available again in reasonable quantities, so people can actually borrow money at low interest rates. And there are companies out there for sale, and there are companies that want to grow, and there's a lot of private equity money out there, and so we've had an uptick in deal activity, about 52% over the last, in the first quarter of 2014 versus 2013. And if you look at the surveys that are out there now, about 85% of companies think that activity level is going to stay the same or increase in 2015. So people expect a robust deal cycle to continue, barring, of course, any kind of geopolitical issue or other unforeseen kind of black swan event.
Yeah. Go ahead with your next question, Jason.
Yeah, that's very interesting part. So, that there are usually, I guess, when a company is looking to do an M&A, they're looking at increasing their bottom lines. Of course, you can increase the bottom line by increasing the sales, or you can increase that bottom line by decreasing your overhead costs. You said that the increase in sales seems to be the driving force for the majority of mergers and acquisitions today.
That's generally what we're seeing, yes, that there's really two drivers. And a lot of the acquisitions we're seeing right now are what we call strategic. So a private equity fund that goes out and buys a company is really a financial investor. They're doing it simply to make money, and they hope to flip that company later on to somebody else. But what we're seeing right now is many more operating companies that are in a certain line of business going out and trying to buy complementary companies or companies in a different line of business in their end, such as you have companies like Microsoft who decide to get in the handset business and they buy Nokia. And that's an entirely different line of business and they're in, but they want to be in that business, so they buy a company that's doing that. And generally what's driving that is an idea toward growth and toward increasing revenues, because when you have the economy growing at 2.5%, if we want to use, I guess, a current and somewhat generous number, at least in terms of the way it feels out there right now, if you want to grow more than 2.5%, one way to do that is through acquisitions. Usually, though, when you're modeling an acquisition, you assume that you can buy the company you're looking at and then cut costs and integrate properly. And the recent M&A surveys I've seen have held up the inability to actually cut costs to the extent companies expect they're going to be able to prior to the acquisition as, I think, the biggest reason that M&A deals fall short of their goals, because they're not actually, when they get boots on the ground, able to cut costs as much as they actually thought they were going to be able to.
Yeah. Got to wrap it up on that point. Jim Walker, he is our guest today, and you can learn more about him at CFJBlaw.com. That stands for Carlton Fields Jordan Burt. That's CFJBlaw.com. Guest today, Price of Business contributor Jason Smith, and you can learn more about him at OperatingCosts.com. Jason, with literally 30 seconds left, final thought.
I love mergers and acquisitions, and I thank you ever so much, Jim, for being on the show. Mergers and acquisitions, operating costs, they really do go together.
Thanks so much, gentlemen. Great topic today. When we come back, much more for you. Do want to remind you the best content here shows up over there at usdailyreview.com. I am Kevin Price. You're listening to The Price of Business.